All right, dear brothers, thank you for joining us tonight. Let's begin the way that is best qualified for us to begin. Connect ourselves to our Creator. Attention prayer. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of all worlds, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Master of the Day of Judgment in which we now live. Thee alone do we serve, and thine aid do we seek. Guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom thou hast bestowed favors, not the path of those upon whom wrath is brought down, nor of those who go astray. Amen.
Amen. Praise be to Allah. My brothers, please forgive me. Like I said, this is a small little hitch, but tonight's program, we're dealing with, of course, a very important topic. We deal with a lot of issues and a lot of things, and we have a lot of built up anxiety because of life's pressures and the things that we deal with. And Allah put it in my heart that we start a program or at least something that we can have an outlet going into the work week. So we're going to start off with who are we as men? And one of the things that came to mind is what and that part of our teachings is Genesis 126 to 127. Is anybody familiar with that verse?
No, sir.
Okay, well, it states that so God created mankind his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female, he created them. So one of the things I remember when I was reading Message to the Black Man for the first time when I was about 19 years of age, that if we are made in the image of God, we are God. We're not the supreme being, we are gods. And one of the things that definitely stood out when I was reading one of the passages or one of the lectures from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he said God never created niggas, excuse my language. He never created bitches or hoes. And because we're men on here, we're gonna talk like men and we know the spirit that we're coming from because we want to have understanding. But that stood out. If God never created these things, who created those vile things that we use today to describe ourselves and especially describe our women when we're angry? We call them the B word or we call them hoes. And instead of calling our brothers brothers, we call them niggas. And we know how that carries on. So we're treating this as an open forum. Everybody has something to offer, and I thank Allah for the brothers who are on here that we can offer solutions and then actually feedback on that. So anybody who is not familiar with that passage, where does that come to mind to you when we're talking about how God never created niggas, the B words, or calling our sisters hoes? How do you feel that we can actually change that language? Because one of the things in the nation that we're taught is you call each other brothers for a reason, because you're less likely want to hurt or kill your brother. So anybody want to feed into that verse that we talked about when God said he created man and female in the image of God? Anybody want to build on that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum, brother, and
Islam.
appreciate you for putting this together.
Praise be
When
to.
I look at, or when we look at our communities throughout America, you can see chaos and confusion. God is not the author of that either. So when you look at what we say niggas and all the other, basically everything negative and all the stereotypes you see about Black people and the chaos and confusion in America throughout America, you can see that basically it was created and manufactured by our enemies.
Yes, sir.
But the question is, why? Why did they create that?
Correct.
So the question should be, why did they create that? And the reason why is so that they will be able to rule over us and continue to keep us in a lowly state and benefit off of us as a people in our low state.
That's right.
That's just what came to my mind from what you were saying, brother.
Yes, sir. And that's great because now we're dealing with mathematics, right? So we always know in Islam, Islam's mathematics and mathematics is Islam. So when we're dealing with
Yes, sir.
mathematics, we got to figure out the question to why, right? So
Yes, sir.
everything that we know that God is force and power, right? Now necessarily Shaitan is a God, so he has that force and power to show that he exists. So can we discuss about how we can see the negative side of what the brother just explained, how they change us inside out, the negative force and power that we utilize, whether it be social media, our own personal lives. How do we validate that force and power that we definitely showing today? Well, we was talking about, the brother made a statement on how that we got into the condition, and we're looking at the ramifications of that. So when we see that, what examples can we give to how we are not living in our godlike sense, or we're more following a path that is not pleasing to Allah?
Mm. Well, one of the ways that we can see that we that we're not pleasing to Allah is one of the main attributes of a man is that he builds. He's building something, and you can see that our communities are dead. So you see that because nothing is being built, there's no life happening in
Right.
our communities. In fact, if anything, we're giving life to other communities because they're sucking the blood or the life. They're sucking the life out of our community.
Right. Right. And what is life though, brothers? That's a deep, that's in our lessons too.
Ooh,
What
that's a
represents
deep one.
life? Come on, brother. It's a quiz time. Come on, FOY. That was
Yes,
in our
sir.
lesson. What represents life, brother?
Well, I mean, shoot, I don't. I'm gonna let a different brother answer that one because
That's
I'm.
okay, brother. Who got that one? What represents life? As a matter of fact, that's dealing with with what's in us now. You know, how do we, what flows through our veins, brother?
I'll jump in on that one.
Go ahead, black man.
One of the things that represents life is motion. I mean, dead bodies are largely inanimate,
Right.
unless you want some Walking Dead type stuff. But motion based on purpose. So we know that in these teachings, you got so many points and angles that you can come from, but they're all connected. So what's popping out of my mind now is, look, the start of all this, or how we address all this, goes back to self improvement being the basis of community development. If you find out how, or if what you're doing is somehow not in accord with what you know is right, because if it's Allah's will, you somehow inherent to um the the point is, what came to mind was a song. Common had this song called The Corner,
Yes, sir.
and he said, we write songs about wrong because it's hard to see right. So if in yourself you know that, hey, something about this that I'm doing, something I'm engaged in is giving me a funny kind of feeling, it's probably because I know that I could be doing better. I should be doing something different. Well, you just amplify that, take that outside of yourself, and spread that amongst the community. Many other people, many other brothers, especially men, are feeling that same way, but because they can't see anybody who's applying this medicine to themselves, they don't know how to get themselves out of the hole. So it comes back to each one of us taking individual responsibility and working on improving ourselves, getting ourselves on that right track so that we can have that influence on somebody else.
Yes, sir.
Could I venture a thought or two?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you again, and also for putting together this gathering and this knowledge sharing session. I I was thinking about some of the things I've heard so far, and I started to wonder, what if that term nigger, uh, you know, when I first heard it, I remember when uh, I think it was Fred Sanford or Sherman Hemsley said that on television. And I remember how shocked I was to hear it, because that was always considered to be a negative about Black men. And so when I saw it on television, I was shocked. And it's always been unsettling to me. But, when you ask why are we calling ourselves, or they calling us nigger in these days and times, when I think about it, what is nigger connected to other than something negative?
Mm.
And so part of my journey in this life has been to look into my ancestry. I went back into ancestry.com, and I don't know how 100% it is or how right it is. I just know that at the end of the day, the results were that 90% of my blood came from the Akan people of West Africa. I know when I found that out, I felt a sense of connectedness to the people of Ghana. And so imagine that the term nigger is to disconnect you from your heritage, your culture, your traditions, the things of the people that you come from. In America, a nigger is nothing. And
Right.
we try our best to make it a term of endearment. But you say that to me on the wrong day, and I ain't feeling that,
Right.
And so, I've been struggling for years not to use the term, but I've been indoctrinated or saturated with it for so long, it becomes a slip of the tongue nowadays, even though I understand the negative connotations.
Yes,
But
sir.
I struggle mightily with that. And
Yes,
I
sir.
struggle with being disconnected from my heritage. Uh, and so, man, I would think that would be the kind of a position this country would want me to be in.
Right.
That's what I was. That's what I was thinking.
And you had some great points to that, brother, because you said that we strive, and sometimes out of anger, anybody naturally, you get angry, and especially when it comes to the paper, that word automatically, instantaneously comes to mind, whether we have the discipline to hold back from reframing that word or using it. But when we get angry as men, especially black men, we frustrated it, whether it be somebody in a position at work or a position of high authority around us, and they do something that's unbrotherly, or they do something that just happen to hit a nerve or an engram in us, that word automatically comes in. But so you can see the psychological aspect of what slavery actually did. As much as they try to make us feel like, it's a thing of the past, our behavior as men, how we conduct ourselves, how we're constantly reminded of the negative element of ourselves, even on social media. You see brothers acting outside of themselves, the content we put out there, the music that we're listening to now, all those things are just keeping on a psychological profile of keeping us in a place of death. And one of the things I wanted to actually talk to the brothers about, because we opened up talking about the mental state of the black man or men in general, period. And men are dealing with depression because there's no outlet, and we also get bombarded with so many things that we have to deal with on a daily basis, whether it be economics, whether it be wanting more for self, relationships. That's a key thing. If you're married, you have children. Sometimes, depending where you are, those things feed depression. So when we're talking about tapping in to the God within, because that's part of the segue also is tapping to the God within. How can we, with all these elements that we are dealing with on a daily basis, especially what we just opened up with, where we say we are God, not the supreme being, but we're made in the image of God. How do we succumb and overcome these challenges that we have daily? Anybody can take that question.
We have to use our imagination for one thing.
Yes, sir.
Um, this system has flaws, and I believe that using our imaginations takes us back to our creative self, which is the potential of God in us. And we have to look outside the box. All these, let's just say, for instance, like the music industry.
Yes, sir.
We're constantly bombarded with these negative thoughts.
Yes,
It's
sir.
it's like, music has been weaponized against us. They understand how music can move people and generate new thought.
That's right.
And so that's one of the reasons why I like using music, poetry, and storytelling and songwriting and all of those things, not only to project positivity, but also as an outlet for myself, because I'm one of those madmen. And I need an outlet, absolutely, because in my mind, we've been traumatized for hundreds of years, and a lot of our black men and women are sick and don't even know it. And
Right.
so, in my view, a lot of men have given up the fight. There, it seems we settled for our secondary status rather than fight for our proper place in this world where we lead rather than follow. And
Hmm.
so I like to use the poetry and songwriting to share a mindset of leadership where, you know, you recognize that we have flaws as humans, but you also have the potential of God in you, and you can connect yourself with God, and then be all you can be. So, oh man, it's absolutely necessary. I personally was caught up in street life for a
Yes,
lot of
sir.
years, and I couldn't tell which way was up. But when I did find out, it was only because I cried out to God for help, and He delivered. And so I've been delivered. And so I try to tell other people how to be delivered. And you have a choice in the condition that you want to remain in.
That's right. Praise be to Allah. That was deep. Anybody else want to share any vices or any ways? The brother mentioned prayer, and he also mentioned his poetry and music to have a way of escape, a positive escape. Does anybody else have anything they want to share that
Yes, sir.
how they can use different tools to escape the world that we're living in?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Um, so I mean, he said some deep stuff actually,
Yes, he
but
did.
yeah, I was thinking the reason that if you look at depression, right? The reason why some people may have depression is because they're having negative thoughts.
Hmm.
But what is the result of negative thoughts? If you have negative thoughts, that means your mind is idle usually. So the reason your mind is idle is because you don't have energy to do something. So the reason you don't have energy to do anything is because basically you're channeling whatever little energy you have and to heighten your emotions. And as a result, you have negative thoughts or you bottling something in about yourself. And if you have negative thoughts, that means you got negative emotions. You got negative emotions, you're using whatever energy you have left to hide your emotions. So no energy to do anything else, and your mind is idle. So the fear that or like for instance, if someone has fear that something won't get better, that's one negative thought, and it's all connected. So it can be hard to see when you're in the thick of that. So the first thing to realize is that you can't trust your own thoughts, is what I'm saying, especially while you're already in a depressive state. So what you got to do is find someone that you can trust. That was
Mm.
just something though that just came to my mind, was that you should find someone that you can trust. Maybe which is why it's good to have like a strong network of brothers or even sisters who, um, usually I would say men though, who you can speak to as well.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. And that was very deep. And I want to go into something a little deep, brothers, because like I said, we're men, and like I said, part of this platform, that Allah put in our my heart. And like I said, I'm glad to have these group of brothers that are on here now is really dig deep into the psyche of us. And we want to get better. We want to do better. I got my challenges, and like I said, I'm learning a lot from the brothers who are speaking. But to what the brothers said, those negative thoughts, and sometimes those thoughts, depending on the force and power that we use to bring those negative powers into life, why do you believe that we go to different things like sexual misconduct, drugs, alcohol for relief that doesn't have power to solve anything, is a temporary relief, instead of seeking God for the answers, or just sitting still long enough to come up with an answer? Why do we feel that sometime at our lowest point that we submit to our lower desires or lowest point, I'm saying, and seek the worldly things to find the answers?
You know what, Brother Levon? It's like they say water seeks the path of least resistance.
Ooh,
Right.
There's some things that the first response, the reflex, is not necessarily the most precise type of action. It's just a reflex.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
when you get people who are in darkness, they do what's called groping in darkness. That's just reaching out, grabbing for any old thing will do. whether it's the
Right.
right thing or the wrong thing. So I think that a lot of people, a lot of us are are stuck at that stage of development. We need to progress and evolve beyond that. But that's a primal kind of primitive, basic level of human response, I guess, to these type of pressures in life.
Yes, sir. Anybody want to take that?
Yes, sir. I agree with that. And assalamu alaikum, brothers, and
Make salam,
uh,
family.
thank you, brother Levon, for this invitation. I yeah, I agree with everything that has been stated, and I'll go off what Brother Vernon was just sharing and say that when you look at civilized cultures,
Mm.
you look at your cultures where the children are taught of their history very early on. They're made to have pride. They're made to see themselves from a broader perspective than just their individual lives. That gives that can lend to give purpose to life sooner. We're unfortunately in a society where we're still under the oppressor, the historical oppressors of our people, and we're in their system. So we send our children to them at such a young age, and then they are indoctrinated with that sickness of Black inferiority and white supremacy, and that begins to, at an early age, dull the mind, especially of the boy children or male children, um, dull the mind very early in life, and you start they it's easy to guide them away from discipline, away
Hmm.
from structure, away from the things that come naturally to male children that they are attracted to naturally. And that's just to combine with what has been said. You don't see it and they don't see it in their communities for the most part, or we don't see it in our communities. I don't say them and they, but we in our communities don't see it. And as brother earlier stated, the music and the programming, the movies, the images, and so on and so forth on top of that uh, contributes to it.
Yes,
I,
sir.
I I also wanted to say one thing just
Sure, brother.
of my own. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has taught that the Earth has an atmosphere that applies pressure
Hmm.
to the human body, so many pounds per square inch
Yes,
of
sir.
the human body, and the reason why the body doesn't collapse in this environment is because of the ability to take in oxygen or air, and taking in inspiration, it balances out the pressure that's coming from outside. And so the disconnect between us and God, or us and the word of God, or the servant of God, that that is something that we can all bear witness to, that coming into a certain knowledge, wisdom, and understanding and a connection to God begins to help you to struggle against those pressures, those low desires, and for the most part, we have examples in our lives that we've been able to overcome some of those things, stopping using drugs, stopping, chasing the women, stopping, you know, um, doing the things that were against our own self-preservation. So one of the major things that I would like to keep it in the forefront is that we have to bring our people to that which is causes us to even be able to have this conversation tonight.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. I want to add something that brother Jerome's has mentioned in the chat. He says often men will not reach out to others during um, during crisis due to the negative perception of people who are depressed are labeled as weak. And that was a great point, Brother Jerome, because that's the reason that we have started this podcast series, because we don't have that outlet, and it's very unhealthy for men because we don't want to seem vulnerable. And some of the brothers that I do a walk with on Saturday that are on here, we discuss those things, and they have a great thing that they have going on every Saturday where men who may feel that way labeled as weak or they feel less than. And sometimes we have that tough exterior that's all we have. And once you take that, that's when we start going down that slippery slope. So to Brother Jerome's point, and to a lot of the points that's summing it up, how can we get out of that mindset that is nothing wrong with expressing ourselves and it doesn't take anything away from us as men?
But what we have to look at is the reality of life. We're in a culture of disbelief that teaches you how to hate self because they realize the God in you is not anything they want to show to the world. Because you change the whole concept, you change the whole narrative when you show up and represent something greater than yourself. And what we are speaking to is the only thing greater than you is the God that dwells in you. So that Saturday morning walk is just for brothers to get out and say what's on their heart, what's on their mind, and what's on their soul. It gives you a chance to release it among brothers, like-minded brothers that are trying to make a change, not only in what they say, but a change in what they do. Because see, when you see a problem and you don't see yourself as the answer to the problem, then that's a real problem. Because Allah has given us enough strength to be the solution. And if we understand that, we are coming to the realization that there's nothing too hard for us to overcome. Because I believe we are more than conquerors, we are overcomers. So Saturday morning walk is just you getting out there, you speaking what's on your mind, giving you a chance to express whatever's on your mind. There's no judgment there. It's just brothers saying, let's put this thing together. Because see, we see what's going on with our young brothers, how they are more or less being programmed under the influence of mass mindedness, mass madness, and mass confusion. Because that's the image you see is the image you believe, the voice you hear is the voice you are influenced by. When you have mirror neurons, which are basically taking in all this information that is put out there on the screen to destroy your way of seeing yourself, making you love stuff outside you more than you love what's in you. So our point on that walk is, can you come home to self, man? It's just, can you have a minute to just release some of that frustration, some of that pain, just walking with brothers and sharing your story? That's basically what that walk is about. But in the process of doing that, if we can bring about changes, we got brothers out there like Brother Smitty. He got the Instant Result Basketball Clinic. He was trying to get on this Zoom too. He ran into the same complications I did. We elders, and it's not that easy.
Yes,
So
sir.
he couldn't get on this line, but he wanted y'all to know that he wanted to be on. But he has a basketball clinic that not only teaches them the value of excellence in the field of basketball, but excellence in the field of life. That basically, once you understand that you can change your game by changing your attitude, you can have a better outlook on life. And if you look at what's going on, there's an all-out attack on us. And then the reality, we have an all-out attack on ourselves. So, we got some house cleaning to do, man. We got to, kind of clean up what we are messing up right
Yes,
now.
sir.
So,
Great point, big brother. And this is why these kind of conversations is very important. Not only the walks, but even when some of those who are not familiar with the nation, we have something called FOY class, or we have meetings where men get a chance to release that, because sometimes we need a more positive energy where we might feel that we might go astray or we might do something that we regret. Steel sharpens steel. So if a brother was deciding to step out on his marriage because he's not happy with it, or he decides to do something illegal to gain more financial, more money, anything that's worldly, we're here to pull each other up. And I pray that any brother who's dealing with something, that we at least tap into one of those elements that some of us face on a regular basis, and some of us are getting older, as Brother Hawk had said, just a few minutes ago, that times are changing and we got to adapt to the things that's around us. So I want to open up to some more brothers here that are on here, because you're giving some great input. And one of the things is, if brothers, if you have something that's in your mind and your heart, by you saying something, you might help somebody that's dealing with something. You might help me out from what I might be dealing with by anything that you want to share. So to that point, let's come up with some solutions, because one of the things that one, I think, Brother Jerome has stated, talking about the renewing mind, that's in Romans 12:2, when it talks about don't conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you will be able to test and approve what God will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. That's a very powerful verse by itself, because not only does it talk about submission, but don't be conformed to the pattern of this world. So anybody want to build on that?
Yes, sir, brother. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Make salam, Brother Steve, aka the Hawk. Yes,
Oh,
sir.
beautiful, brother. All praises due to Allah. Thank you, brother, for inviting me. Um, Brother, I have a question. I was talking to a young brother. My question is, how do we combat the mindset of brothers who feel like uh, they're in a position because that's the position that God wants them to be in? They're where they are because that's the path that God chose for them. Like, it's inescapable. Like, they're doing bad because, I mean, that's the creator's will. And, they try to come up and they see others coming up, but they're not coming up. And they're wondering, like, well, maybe that's just for them and not for me. And that brings me back to the part of the scripture that says Allah amplifies the means of subsistence for some, and for some he straightens their means. So it's like, how can you overcome something that Allah has in place for you? If he's straightening your means and you trying to come against that, how can you come against the will of Allah? It's like, if he has your means straight, that means he wants them straightened for you. So is it that no matter what you do, your means are straightened, you can't come past a certain point, like you can't come up if God wants you down, and if he amplifies for some, that means some he has, he he will amplify. So some brothers, I was talking to the brother, he was like, well, I just don't see I don't see God's blessings in my life. I pray to him, I ask him for certain things, and I really don't see his hand, moving in my life. It's like everything every day is the same. It's the same old. And I'm like, how do we convince a brother, or, young brothers, or, older brothers as well, that God is working in your life, and what do we get them to focus on? I mean, how do we get them to see that God is working in their life? If they see that everything is the same, it's just the same pressures, the same obstacles, every day is the same, and they don't see themselves advancing or anything like that. How do we convince them that God is actually working in their favor?
Oh,
Brother,
brother.
if I may.
Yes, brother. I'm gonna let you have the. But I guess sometimes I want to hear that you can have the floor, brother. The brother said something that um is in the Quran, and it says, "After difficulty comes ease." And in order for us to be purified, and I think the minister spoke on this, that we face difficulty to help purify us to be greater men, and we have to face challenges. All of us face challenges, and Allah doesn't put anything on us that we can't handle. And I believe that that brother that you were speaking about, Brother Steve, um, he convinced himself of that. He God didn't, he's failing the test because he's already put in fruition that he doesn't see nothing greater than himself. And this is why Brother Hawk always says, his slogan, it would say that how great that we are, is saying we have to believe that it's a belief system. So he had already made up his mind that nothing good comes out of it, and he think he's settling for not being great. So that's what came to mind in that surah. And if you want to look it up, it's in Surah, it's chapter 94, verse 5 through 6. And it's a very compelling and strong verse about, after difficulty comes ease. Brother Reginald, you had something, brother?
Yes, sir. And you touched on a little that came to mind in regards to a lot of places, not on any soul a
Hmm.
burden beyond its scope, which is also in the Quran. And I want to say, according to what Brother Steve shared, I understand um, quite well where the brother who he was referencing, or even our people, where that state of mind comes out of and from. And that is truly what the enemy has done. He has placed us in a position where we feel as though we deserve to be where we're at, or that this is God's will. They had a doctrine, the enemy has had a doctrine on the curse of Ham being upon us. And though it may not be perpetuated in that verbatim like that, but the sentiment is portrayed over and over, and that makes us to see ourselves as worthy of or deserving of the condition that we are in. But I'll say this: as soon as a brother would say to me, as a follower of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, that they are in this state because God would have them in this state, and that they don't see any answer to their prayers, I would immediately state, well, look, I'm present here with you to communicate with you as a brother who
Hmm.
understands what you're going through. And that is in itself an act of God.
Yes,
And
sir.
so, as someone who also prays to God, I pray to God for to help me to find and to serve the needs of my people. So I'm here to do a work as you are here to. If you're fulfilling what God has you here to fulfill, then I'm here as well to fulfill what God has for me to fulfill. And I need you to fulfill it. And I believe you need me to fulfill yours. So we're going
Mm.
to be attached to one another. Yeah, come with me, to where I go to get. And that's what I say. It's always going to lead to me bringing you to where I've been inspired. But the love that we should have for our people, that is demonstrated by the minister for us, then we have to give that kind of love to it. No matter what condition you're in, God loves you, and he loves you unconditionally, and you are of the righteous, and you are a God. And man, there's just so much that we can give to a person who feels like there's nothing else for them. I just came back from Detroit. That's why I'm a little fired up. And we
Yes,
went
sir.
into the projects of Detroit, and I'm not from there, so I'm in the projects of another city, and I'm seeing the condition that our people are in. But the love that we had, they were opening up their doors, brother, and allowing us inside to communicate with them. And it just shows me that we really have to get out here and really get into the faces of our people and get into where they're at, and pull on their heartstrings to come up out of that condition.
Yes, sir. Praise be to our good teachers, brother. Anybody want to build on that?
Yes, sir.
You got it, brother.
Yes, sir. So one of the things I'll never forget, because I'm a martial artist. I've been a martial artist for almost over 15 years now.
Yes, sir.
And one of the
Us.
things, one of the things that my teacher told me was that when you want to achieve a goal, because life is very, well, for some people, for most, life is a long journey, right? But when you want to achieve a goal, you can't get it done all at one time. For some, you may can, but what you want to do is break it down into steps. So what you want to do is break it down into steps and then to worry about getting those steps done. And then you'll achieve the goal that you want to achieve. But you can't think about it in a very vague term of just that's the goal I want to get done. Like if you say I want to make a lot of money, I want to be wealthy, you should write down the steps that it would take for you to get to achieve the ultimate goal of wealth. So worry about achieving the steps and then you'll get to your goals. That's what I think. Just on
Yes,
the
sir.
subject.
I have a question, my brother.
Sure, Brother Stephen.
In your mind, does Allah ever deny you anything? I mean, does he say no to a request from you through prayer, or just an honest request? You want to be someplace, you want to be something, you want to do something. Is he always? Does he always agree? Does he always allow or bless you with what you request of him, or because he's the judge and the master, so he has a right to say no? I mean, in your mind, does he say no? Does he deny you the ability to do something you want? You want to do something in life. You want to be someplace, and he wants you he wants you here, and you want to go there, and he's like, no, I want you here. And
Yes,
so
sir.
I guess in that case, people are struggling against. Okay, I'm trying to get here. I'm not being able to make an emotion to go here. Maybe God is saying, no, I don't want that for you. I want this for you. And so if that's the case, is there like an impasse, or is it just wide open where whatever you want, wherever you want to go, he allows that?
What comes to mind what you just said, Brother Steve, is we plan and Allah is the best of planners. So most of us here are, I believe, fathers. And you ever had your son or your daughter really, really want something really, really bad, and they're really excited about it, but because you have foresight and you see things that they don't see, you say to them no, and they're looking at you why, but you see things that they don't see because you've been around longer. You've seen things, you experience things a lot longer, or you're not prepared for what you're asking for. Sometimes we have to qualify for the things that we want in life. And that's one of the things I had to learn also as far as building a patience. And of course, in the Quran, it says that Allah is with those who are patient. And we are patient for a reason, because sometimes we have to qualify for everything that we want. Just like you go for a job, right? You want this job because you know it pays six figures or whatever it pays, right? But when you go there, they ask you those hard questions and see if you qualify for what you actually want. Can you handle what comes with this position that you want in life? Or we talk about this job, for example. So I wouldn't always say it. I'm not speaking for Allah, but I'm just using my own personal experiences, that sometimes it's not always no. It's also how do I qualify for what I'm asking for? And sometimes we have to, build ourselves up for what we want. It's not always a no, or it may not be a good thing for us to be there because, as we stated earlier, we plan and Allah Allah's the best of planners. So maybe He's trying to shift you to the direction to maybe what you really want. He's trying to shift you there, but you got to hit those obstacles. Then, like anything, like with the diamond, we always talk about pressure earlier. And then we know that in order for you to get to a diamond, you got to apply pressure through that rock. And then it takes a lot of work to get to, but once you get to it, you appreciate the value of it. So um, I believe that there's nothing wrong with a little pressure for us, Brother Steve. I believe that if we really want something, if it's righteous and it's in the right, that we got to see if we really want to qualify for it. Any other brother want to take on to that?
Hey,
Yeah,
go ahead.
you can go.
I just want to speak to the fact that if it's in line with Allah's will, it will happen. But if it's not His will, He will put you in a pause. He will put you in a holding station.
That's right.
And you have to understand that everything that Allah has planned for you is along with His will. If it's righteous, if you asking Allah for something outside that's in your pocket that's greater than what's in your heart, He might want you to realize that what's in your pocket can't compare to the greatness that's in your heart. And you have to make preparation for transformation. Young brothers come to me with all these dreams and infatuated with the fantasy. They say, well, Brother Hawk, I need this, I need that. I pause and I say, brother, are you living in your truth? And they said, well, what does that mean? I said, are you being honest with yourself? Did you deal with self-examination, self-evaluation, and self-assessment? Are you ready to go to the next step of life? And if they're not, then they have to go through the step process. Each and every one of us have a process that Allah is sending us through. And if we understand the process, we'll get there. It's just what you put in life is exactly what you're going to get out. And I teach them nothing in means nothing out. You can't have big dreams and big ideas without doing what you need to do to get there. That's my statement. Go ahead.
Praise be to our good,
That,
good big brother. Brother Jerome?
yes, sir. That really goes back to our topic for the day, God within us. A lot of times people are looking for an answer from outside of themselves,
Mm-hmm.
don't ask for wisdom and don't want to do anything to accomplish what they have in mind.
Mm-hmm.
But faith without works is dead. So
That's right, brother.
if you don't do what you need to do to get to where you want, you're going to be stuck.
That's
Sometimes
right, brother.
you have to do the work, and that it's not always easy. And a lot of people are looking for uh, God or Allah to do whatever whatever they want, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we have to do our work to get to that place.
Yes, sir. That's correct, sir.
All right, brother. So let's come with some solutions, right? So we want to come out and we said some great points. And I took some great notes, and I'm pretty sure by the body of men that are here, we got some great things that we can do. So let's come up with some solutions. What
Well,
ways can we use to overcome difficulties that we are using the God from within to deal with adversity, deal with challenges, whether it be at home, at work, finances? How can we tap into the God within to actually put ourselves on a straight path and do God's will?
I
Anybody
have
can take that.
I have had the opportunity to grow into what I believe is God's will for me.
Mm,
I work in a drug treatment facility.
yes, sir.
I'm working with at least 30 men every day who are struggling to pick themselves up off the ground and stand in truth with God. Um, and I have been caught up in life myself, and I know what it took for me to get to where I am today. Um, 28 years without using drugs myself.
Congratulations,
It
man.
took
Praise be to Allah.
it took me getting the God of my understanding. And one of the biggest struggles I had came from my childhood. I grew up without a father, and I can remember at 9 years old, I wanted to know what is it that men are supposed to do. And I didn't know. I didn't see that in my house. What I saw was a woman beater, and that I did not want to be like. And so I ended up in the street around a lot of people doing whatever it took to get a dollar every day. I grew up grandson to a Baptist preacher. And so we were going to church, and I had his God, and that God was the punishing God, and I didn't like that God. But once I reached out for help, the God of my understanding grew beyond me. Um, and I grew a faith that I can walk with God, and I gained a sense of purpose. And my sense of purpose is to help those people who are in the position that I used to be in. That led me to dealing with a lot of my own personal issues. Uh, I found out that men are supposed to do things that are right and good and help your community. You know, I bring that point about because I was 10 years old when Martin Luther King was assassinated. I didn't know Malcolm X. And I think that these men were probably going to be some of the greatest influences in my life growing up. But we lost them. So we have a lot of young men running around the street who don't have guidance. And they're just like me. They do whatever they have to do to get through the next day. Well, I get to catch those guys when they get a little older and get a little sick of living the way they were living. And I use this venue that I have at the DC Recovery Community Alliance. I use that venue to help men face fears, express themselves, and grow spiritually. I think it's extremely important to grow spiritually and expose some of those negative thoughts so you can get some new thinking, so you can hear some new thoughts and learn to use those new thoughts. I sincerely believe that God doesn't discriminate. And I believe in the Bible is somewhere it says that your gift will make room for you. I believe sincerely that everyone has gifts if you just look within. And if you can strengthen your spirit and clear your mind, then you can walk in your own truth and be a beacon of light in this world. So I work very hard. As a matter of fact, this month I'm going to be featuring Brother Malcolm. Brother Malcolm has been on his journey to becoming Malcolm and doing a tribute on Malcolm X for years. And I love listening to him talk. I love listening to speeches from great men because then I understand what men are supposed to do. You know, you can listen to people talking foolishness all you want. I did that already. I'm done with that. I much prefer listening to men that are purposeful. They know their purpose. I love listening to men that have solutions and offer solutions. So that's one of the reasons I was attracted to this podcast. Because as Brother Hawk said, we do this walk every Saturday morning, and we walk and we share our truths, we share our pains, we share our aspirations, and we try to come up with solutions to and support each other when what we're doing. Because when I was growing up, it wasn't about supporting anybody. I was all about self. Well, I've grown up a little bit. Now I believe in supporting others as well as gaining support for myself. Because I can see where, you know, with 2.2 million Black men locked up, I can see a concerted effort at destroying us as a people. Now that we're not needed as slaves anymore, and they don't want to pay reparations, well, the likely thing to do is reduce our numbers. But I'll continue to do what I've been doing. I'd like to invite you brothers to come out February 24th. We'll be at 5656 3rd Street Northeast, 7 o'clock. And come out and support our venue and see some men grow, see some people sharing good times and celebrate the life of Malcolm X.
That's right.
Praise be to Allah.
Thank you, my brother.
Yes, sir. All right. Anybody will take the helm? Because we want to hear from everybody in our closing out words. Brother Vernon?
Yes, sir, my brother. Closing words. I think that one of the things that we are going to have to do as men to cultivate that God within us and to help us to deal with what we're dealing with on the outside of us is to immerse ourselves in what we know is going to pour into us. You might have heard recently them talking about who you surround yourself with is critical. It's very important because if you surrounding yourself with people who can't pour into you or who only pour negative into you, they're only going to bring you down. If you're hanging out in a room of people that's not so smart and you're the smartest person in the room, they say that's the wrong room to be in. But you, you know, if you're ever going to get smarter, yeah, you want to get around people who are smarter than you. So it's very critical. It's very important that you immerse yourself, surround yourself with brothers who are going to specifically pour into you. And by pour into you, I mean, you know, getting over what Brother Jerome said, getting over that feeling that we don't have people around us who won't label us as weak. Someone who is pouring into you specifically is giving you something that's going to make you stronger or make you want to be a better person. And you're going to feel what they're pouring into you and feel how it makes you want to be a better person, not by beating you down or making you feel some other kind of way, but it's going to be uplifting. It's going to strengthen you. So we got to seek out those people, men and women, and we got to seek out those type of things that we watch and read and listen to. That's my input.
And it was a great input. All right, brother Reginald, what you got for us, brother?
I'm right in line with that as well. It's the company. It's the company you keep. You got. You have to. You have to. You said it earlier. Steel sharpens steel. As men sharpen men, we have to be around the kind of or the caliber of man that will challenge us, that will hold us accountable, that will encourage us and push us in the direction of what is right. I, being from Chicago, I grew up in an environment where I spent the first half of my life around men who was about getting it in the streets, that needed to be, however it needed to be gotten. And that pushed me into so many avenues of life that I had to be, I had to be healed from, I'll say it like that. So, fortunately for me, I came into contact with the Nation of Islam, and once I came into contact with men of that caliber, um, as brother who was it Kadar said earlier, he's a martial artist. I met martial artists for the first time. I met militant men. I heard you speak military terms earlier, man. Brothers who have been in the structured environment for so long. I met very spiritual men who can help me solve and unlock some of the spiritual truths that were difficult to understand. So it's just being in an environment around men that you can look up to, men that you can turn to in the time of need. I mean, there's just such a blessing in life just to have brothers, and I'm constantly in that state of gratitude.
Yes, sir. Praise be to thy beautiful words, my brother. Brother Kadar, closing words, my brother.
Yes, sir. Really, what I would say is understand the power of you as well. Because you may not be able to control everybody else, but you can control what you're doing. So look at the habits and what you're doing every day and realize that you got to make some changes in your life to attract the things that you want. Because you're not going to be able to, if you're just sitting idly all the time, you're not going to attract what you want. So you got to look and find productive habits so that you can attract the things that you want. That's what I would say.
Praise be to Allah. Brother Stephen, closing words, big brother.
Yes, sir, brother. I agree with what brother just said. You have to immerse yourself into what you're trying to achieve. You have to take all the necessary steps, great and small. You have to do research. You have to get certificates. You have to make phone calls. You have to be relentless in your pursuit. And I guess that's how you realize that your will be done. You can accomplish what you will, but you have to constantly dig, constantly pursue it with a relentless spirit. Like no matter what it takes, if I have to make 1,000 phone calls, if I have to connect with this person, I have to do further research. I mean, whatever it takes to chip away at what you're going after. I think that you'll be able to see that you can accomplish your will if you just not sit back and like sit idle, like you said, and you just like you go after it and take the necessary steps to accomplish and go after the goals that you have set for yourself.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you for those words, brother. Very very wise. And to our other big brother, brother Hawk, what you got for us, big brother?
Brother, my thing is, I am greatness in motion. I want you to understand that nothing's greater than you but the God that dwells in you. And once you understand the oneness of self, you understand the I amness of self, you understand the greatness of self, you can achieve what Allah has for your life. And if you're patient, with your patient attitude, with your attitude of gratitude, and you meet Allah every morning and ask Allah for what you want, and if it's in his will, be mindful, his will, not our will. If it's in his will, he'll give it to you. If you say, give me more knowledge, Allah will give you that, because knowledge is power. And if you want more understanding, he'll give you that. Your choice in life is to choose wisdom or foolishness. You decide what you want in life, and Allah is there to give it to you if it's in line with his will, his purpose, and his reason for your life. And he wants you to lift things up and never tear anything down. So he wants you to come into that great understanding that you are the God of this mind, of this time, and you have to walk in your God-like nature. And there's nothing too hard for you when you understand who you are. And if you measure things by what's in your heart and not what's in your pocket, you'll see the greatness of self, and you'll be able to understand the I amness of self. So my thing is, nothing's greater than you but the God in you. So black man, stand in your greatness, because you are greatness in motion. Peace and love, family. Peace and love.
Praise
That's
be
my
to
word,
Allah.
baby.
That's what I'm talking about, man. And I want to say this, brothers. And like I said, I'm speaking from the heart with this. Allah has had this on my heart as far as putting a program, as far as a safe space for men. And I call a lot of you big brothers for a reason, because I'm the eldest out of out of my siblings, but I never had a big brother. And I said my father, he's moved on. But when I'm around strong brothers, sharp brother, it only makes me sharper. And I want to thank every black man that took the time to come and be part of what Allah has put in my heart. It's not by my will, it's by Allah's will. And the right people were here to have what we call the right ingredients for the soup. So this was definitely some great soul food for the soul. And in closing, brothers, I believe that all of us do have a purpose. Every man that spoke today uh, gave something that we could all build from, gave an experience that we could all learn from. And we're not alone in this world when we're dealing with struggles. And one of the things I want us to come out of this is that, Allah gives us what we ask for, because sometimes through my troubles and my thoughts, I'm an introvert by 100 degrees, brother. I'm an introvert all the way around, but I can't be like that because sometimes I need answers as well. And Allah is not a spook God. You gotta have something to respond back to you. And a lot of you brothers spoke back to a lot of things that I was thinking about and I might have went through, and I thank you for that. I would be honored if Brother Hawk can close us out in prayer. And I definitely sincere, brother. This has definitely been therapeutic for your brother. And like I said, inshallah, we put the flyer out for next week's program. Invite some brothers. We don't care about the religion. It's not about religion. It's about us building each other up, brother. So with that said, Brother Hawk, do you mind closing out in prayer, brother? And after that, brother,
Yes, sir.
class will be dismissed.
Father God, we truly thank you for this privilege, this honor, and this opportunity to recognize and realize, God, that it was not by our might nor our power, but by your precious spirit moving through the mind, moving through the heart, and moving through the soul of each and every brother on this line. Father, you know exactly what they stand in need of. So meet their needs, God, and meet their concerns. Strengthen them, God, so that they will know it's not their will, but thy will that must be done. Give them exactly what they need to see so that they can see the God in self, Father, recognizing and realizing that there's nothing too hard for you. And so, Father God, we thank you for the privilege and the honor to be grateful and to have an attitude of gratitude. Now we say, let your will, let your way, and let your purpose be done, God, for the uplifting, upbuilding of your kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. All praises due to you, Father. Amen.
All praises due.
All
Amen.
praise to Allah.
Yes,
May Allah bless you with a beautiful
Praise be
week.
to
It's a
Allah.
great week to start off, brother. May Allah bless you. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, brother.
Walaikum salam, sir.
Peace and blessings,
Walaikum
brothers.
salam.
Thank you, brothers. Peace.
Peace.